Thanks for joining us on krockfootball.com.au, proudly sponsored by Morris Finance. Tom King here in the bowels of the Brownlow stand, and lucky enough to be joined by the reigning VFL Premiership coach in Matty Knight. Snyder, firstly, welcome to krockfootball.com.au. You're going to season 2013 as the hunted rather than the hunter.
Yeah, I guess we do. I guess we may have snuck up on a few teams or people last year, and we're able to establish a fair bit of momentum. And still some of those final series games were, unbelievable to watch. I mean, to go out in the first final and then come, I guess, through the back door and get the job done was superb and great for the Geelong community and the club itself. And, all of a sudden we're here again and ready to go for round one versus Williamstown.
How quick was it to move on and then start preparing? Basically, early November, you're back into it and trying to assemble or find the 21 players who are going to play a role in getting you back-to-back flags.
Yeah, first and foremost, I mean, that week after the grand final was great because we had a great bunch of players and terrific staff that worked really hard. So we certainly enjoyed, being able to achieve something together, and we had a good time for a week or so. But, we've got a lot of self-driven players and staff that are pretty grounded. And, when you've got Troy Selwood and Dom Gleeson and Mark Corrigan leading the charge and leading your team, you're going to come back pretty humble and ready to go again. So we've trained really hard in the off-season. We've had a bit of a change-up. We had a lot of fresh guys trying out for the squad, which keeps everyone invigorated from different parts of Geelong and the Ballerine and the like. So, yeah, it's been really refreshing, the new people we've met over the off-season. And, I think the 21 we've put together on the VFL squad is a mix of variety and a mix of, I guess, age and experience. And we're confident that they'll do a good job for the club.
10 years ago, or 10 years basically, if you look at the similar point of time that produced that wonderful 2002 VFL Premiership side, if you have a similar rate of success, I think it produced 10 or 11 Premiership players, you'll have done your job.
Yeah, well, I think it's really good. I mean, we've seen George Hall-Smith and Josh Walker and Jordan Murdoch, Billy Smets. We've seen them really at the forefront in the NAB Cup so far. So fundamentally, that's really important to our role here as academy coaches in the VFL, that we push players up that, Scotty and the match committee can select, and more importantly, that they're ready to play Geelong type footy. So that's critical, and we'll be doing the same this year with a lot of young players that, whether it be Cameron Erdley or Joel Hamling, trying to prepare them as best we can to play AFL footy. And if we keep doing that well, that's a really positive thing.
Of the 21, obviously, there was some talk that Mark Corrigan was going to give it away, and somehow you've convinced him to go on another year.
Yeah, well, we probably got one out of two. We were really keen for Andrew McLean to play on. It was such a superb career, and his final series was outstanding. We will never forget his spoil late in the game against Werribee. I think it was on McKinlay, about 50 metres out, to probably save that game in the end. So, Mac is always going to be dear to our heart here at Geelong. He's going to obviously play for St Mary's and play locally. But Mark was, we were thrilled. Mark, he came back and we had a meeting with him the first time we hooked up after the Premiership, and he was even more energetic and enthusiastic than we'd ever seen him before. And I think one of the reasons is the first part of last year he had a groin injury and took a while to get going, whereas his body's in really good shape now, and I think he thinks he can really play some of his best footy of his career.
Obviously, you're a country boy, being from up the Sunraysia area, and you'd be aware that there's such a depth of talent in country regions, but here in Geelong, obviously, with three very strong football leagues, you really are blessed in regards to what you can pick up locally to add to your list. Yeah,
it's quite staggering. I mean, to think that when you come down in pre-season, you get players coming from the three leagues, and they've all got amazing talent. And even the guys that have missed out on making our 21 that are going to stay connected with our development squad, they're all very good players in their own right. The only fact that they've missed out is that 30 players just don't go into 21, and we've sort of portrayed that to a lot of those guys that we think they could be long-term players in the Geelong list, even though they haven't made the squad this year. But to be able to have that talent is such a huge advantage for our VFL program to come from different places, whether it be Dane McFarlane or Young Measures, or whether it's Gibbsy or Tommy Gribble from the under-18 program and Zach Sherman. It's just to have those young guys coming through, it sort of refreshes us as coaching staff as well.
Obviously, you coached the Premiership side at VFL level last year. You've had a crack at AFL level. Individually, do you still aspire? And I think I asked you this when you first got here. Do your aspirations change after coaching a Premiership? Go, gee, there's that fire burns to coach an AFL club and prove yourself again at AFL level?
Yeah, I think the fire burns to coach. I mean, parts of it when I first met with Barmy and Chris Scott and Steve Hocking was to bring some of my experience to Geelong, but also for myself to, be a part of the Geelong program and to learn off the other coaches, whether that be the assistant coaches or Scotty, and then also to, with the department to see how that works and how the whole Geelong program works. So it's been fantastic, and I'm the learning aspect is enormous to keep adjusting and keep learning and also add, I guess, my experience. So yeah, coaching's certainly a big passion. Where it takes me in the future, I'm not sure, but I'm really loving my time at the Geelong at the moment. So I can see, it'd be good if there was a really good future here, because the people here are great to work with, and you certainly come every day looking for a new challenge and feel pretty invigorated. So I'm only sort of thinking about this year at the moment, even though I do love coaching, full stop.
Season 2013 opens with Williamstown, the traditional now Easter Sunday game at Torquay. Geelong home game this year as opposed to being Willies with their ground redevelopment over the last couple of years. Not an easy start. They're still aligned with the Bulldogs for one more year, and of course with the number of injuries and suspensions through the list of the Geelong AFL list, you obviously will go in with a very VFL strong side.
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll be probably going with sort of 14, 15 VFL listed players, but we'll also have some really good young players from the Geelong list, which will really add to our experience on the VFL list. So, but we feel confident that the way we play our football and the way we go about our football, that no matter what team we put out, we think we can be strong. We think we can play the right way and keep us in the game, and that's what we did all last year. We at times scrambled and just fought our way through it, and even in the grand final, we were, it was touch and go there for a while, and our young boys just keep, grinding away and keep persisting with the way we want to play our footy, and eventually we got a real run on it late in the game, and we're able to put some scoreboard pressure on. So no matter what team we put out there, we feel we can be really competitive. We feel like we can play good football and entertaining footy, and that gives you a chance to win footy games. So yeah, great at Torquay, round one versus Williamstown, who will be, right up there in flag favouritism. It's going to be a cracking game of footy and good for everyone that comes along.
Okay, with the Seagulls, who else do you see contending this year in the VFL?
Yeah, I think the two for mine are probably the Seagulls and Port Melbourne, if I had to say who would be flag favourites. The movers, I think, from last year, I think North Ballarat might be a bit of a mover. They missed out on the 8 last year, and that traditionally hasn't been the case, so I reckon they might move a bit. And I also think Box Hill might be a team that's sort of a mid-finals team last year that we beat on the way through, that potentially might push up a bit harder as well. So there's a couple of flag favourites there, and then a couple that might move a bit, I think.
Before we let you go, give us an AFL listed player to watch and give us a VFL listed player to watch.
Yeah, well, I think the VFL listed player to watch is Daniel Measures from Queenscliff. I think he's a really good talent. He's really calm and poised with the ball. So I think he's going to be one that comes through and people say, well, listen, he's got a fair bit of game about him. From the Geelong listed perspective, I think, depending on whether he's VFL or AFL, but I really think Jackson Thurlow is going to be someone that, we're all going to have the pleasure of watching him defend and attack and win contests. I think he's going to be someone that we should really look out for in the future. And maybe someone that's been around but mightn't be starting with a team, Jed Buse and George Burberry, who had really good seasons last year in the VFL. I really think they will continue to establish themselves and then push really hard for AFL selection as the year goes on.
Fantastic, mate. Thanks for joining us on krockfootball.com.au. Always a pleasure to have you as part of the K-Rock team. We enjoy following the VFL boys. The Bankers, as the colloquialism has really taken off. We wish you the best of luck for 2013.
Thanks, King. Ta.
Matty Knight's joining us on krockfootball.com.au, and for all your latest VFL news, whether it be the Bendigo Bank Cats or Werribee, keep it locked to krockfootball.com.au.